Good morning, everyone. This is me, Chopstick Girl, and for today's video, we're going to make another episode of Chopstick Education Corner. And for today's topic is all about the novel of Franz Kafka entitled The Metamorphosis. So before we're going to tackle the main story or the novel, it is essential to know the background of the author. So it is essential to know the background of the author so that we can understand his work better. Okay? So let's proceed to the background of the author. So Franz Kafka. So Franz Kafka was a German-speaking Bohemian novelist and short story writer, widely regarded as one of the major figures of 20th century literature. So his work fuses elements of realism and the fantastic. His literary depiction of the alienation of the modern individual, particularly through governmental bureaucracy. He is not close to his mother and all his life struggled with his domineering father. So he died in tuberculosis at the age of 40 years old. So it's all about the novel. In the novel Metamorphosis, it shows the difficulties of living in a modern society and struggle for acceptance of others when in time of need. So he directly reflects upon many of the negative aspects of his personal life. This story about the author's personal life portrayed through his dream-like fantasies. That's the reason why he wrote this novel. It's a reflection of his life experience. So that's Franz Kafka. So let's proceed to the novel. So here is the summary and analysis of part 1. So it consists of part 1, part 2, and part 3. So let's begin. So Grigor Samsa awakes in his bed and discover he has transformed into a giant bug. Particularly, it's more like a cockroach. Wondering what has happened, he looks around his small room where everything appears normal. He sees the fabric samples that he uses in his job as a traveling salesman. A picture of a woman in force that he tore out of the magazine and framed, and the rain dripping down outside his window. So this is the opening of the novel in which Grigor Samsa, the protagonist of the story, um, wakes up in his bed to discover that he is transformed into a bug. So in this section, we also begin to learn the details of Grigor's human life, and we get the first glimpse into his feeling of alienation from those around him. Grigor wakes in the evening. He sees that someone has put a bowl of milk and bread in the room. Though milk had been his favorite drink, he finds that he cannot stand the taste now. Then he listens for his family, but the apartment is completely quiet. So Grigor doesn't have a taste now of milk, although the milk and the bread is his favorite before he is become a bug. The question of how much of Grigor's humanity remains dominates the second section of the story as the members of the Sansa family adapt to the new situation with Grigor. Each one appears to develop a different perception of how much humanity remains in him. So Grigor is, the family of Grigor rather, didn't allow him to go outside because the settings of the story is their Sansa's apartment. So in Sansa's apartment, there are boarders that live there. So if Grigor will come out, then the boarders will be freaked out. So in the wake of Grigor's injury, which limits his mobility, the family takes pity on him and leaves the bedroom door open at night so Grigor can watch them. The father doses his chair while the mother sews lingerie for the boutique, and Grete studies French and shorthand in hopes of moving up from her job as a sales clerk. So Grete is a younger sister of Grigor, and he takes care of Grigor when he she's the one who wanted to move the furniture in Grigor's room so that Grigor's will be oh no, Grigor's will can move freely in his room, and she also the one who cleans the rooms of Grigor, gives milk and bread, and after that he gives food crops because Grigor doesn't like to eat meat and bread. Oh, meat, no, rather milk and bread anymore. So he gives Grigor food crops in which Grigor's like. So that's critique. And the injury that is talking about here is when was the mother of Grigor saw Grigor, his mother freaks out and Grigor runs into the kitchen. So when Grigor runs into the kitchen, his father arrived from work, and then his father throw an apple into his bag. So as Grigor is, he is a bug or something, a cockroach, a giant cockroach. He is vulnerable. So imagine if the cockroach, you will throw an apple into a cockroach. So that was that is what happened to Grigor. Then he injured himself at the back and eventually decided to it's better for him to die because his family suffers. So at the end, Grigor's, of course, think about his family. So the members of the Samsa family continue to struggle with their uncertainty regarding Grigor's humanity. All the way up to his death, in a show of kindness. They begin leaving the door to Grigor's room open in the evenings, providing Grigor with at least a little contact with them. So the door symbolizes the contact of Grigor to his family. Let us now proceed to the elements of the story. So first, here is the character. Main character, of course, Grigor Samsa, who became a cockroach. He's hardworking man, and in spite of his new insect body, he initially still wants to go to work so that he can provide for his family. He is calm and patient. He accepts his fate without complaint and thinking of his family's best interest. He is a responsible person because of the obligation. He fails to pay off his father's debt and care for his family. So here is the settings. So of course, it is Rigor's room. He looks around his room, which appears normal, and decides to go back to sleep without forget about what happened. So his room, that's where Grigor, when he transformed into a bug, that's where Grigor mostly stay in his room. So apartment, that is the main um, settings of the story because the story happens in the apartment. So the room of Grigor belongs to the apartment and the kitchen also. So it's the main setting. So he hears his office manager come into the family's apartment to find out why Grigor has not shown up to work. So that is the morning that Grigor discovered that he turns into a bug. So his manager came into their apartment and tell Grigor that why he didn't show up into work. So of course, Grigor cannot go to work because he's not a human anymore. So kitchen, Grigor runs out of the kitchen and runs out into the room rather and into the kitchen. So that's when mother of Grigor saw him and he ran into the kitchen and his father arrived and he hit by the apple, and that's the source, or that's why he is injured and eventually died. So the theme of the story. So first, social isolation. Being alone in the room and stays absent from his social circle or achieve a position or get through a transformation. So of course, transformed, when Grigor transformed into a bug, he is isolated because of course if I am torn into a bug or specifically cockroach, I will also not want to go outside. So he is isolated in his room, in his family, in the social circle, on what he is wanted to achieve in his life. So he is totally isolated. So alienation, as soon people come to know his bizarre transformation, they become indifferent. His identity changes with physical features. So of course alienation, because Grigor is also a human too, but they do not know that Grigor is still a human inside, um, thinking still like a human, but they focus on his transformation, which is a bug. So uh, they become indifferent to them. Of course, also his family, especially his family.